For 30 years, Johnny Carson was America's late-night king. Behind that charming smile and perfect timing, he witnessed the dark side of Hollywood's golden age. Recently, private tapes and insider testimonies have revealed the truth about some guests who were absolute nightmares. And yes, believe me, you won't expect who they are. 1. Frank Sinatra. Everyone knew Frank Sinatra as Old Blue Eyes, the crooner who could make any woman swoon. But behind the cameras of The Tonight Show, he was a completely different person. Carson himself described him as the most difficult guest I ever had to deal with. The first incident happened in 1976. Sinatra arrived 2 hours late, completely drunk, and demanding that the entire script be changed. "I don't do jokes about my personal life," he told Carson in front of the entire crew. But the problem wasn't just his attitude, it was his threats. According to Ed McMahon, Sinatra cornered one of the writers backstage because he didn't like a joke about his marriages. He grabbed him by the shirt and said if he ever wrote anything about him again, he'd make sure he never worked in television. McMahon recalled years later. The most shocking incident was never aired. During a commercial break, Sinatra stood up and started yelling at Carson because he felt the interview was too soft. "You're making me look like an old fool," he shouted. Security had to intervene when Sinatra threw his drink at the host's desk. Carson never invited him back after 1978. In his private diaries, discovered after his death, Carson wrote, "Frank Sinatra is proof that talent doesn't make you a good person. He's a bully who thinks fame gives him the right to humiliate others." 2. Dean Martin. Dean Martin's laid-back persona was all an act. Behind that relaxed demeanor and martini glass was a man with a terrible temper and zero respect for others. Carson discovered this the hard way during multiple appearances that became absolute disasters. The worst incident occurred in 1971. Martin showed up completely intoxicated, not the fun, controlled drunk he played on stage, but genuinely out of control. During the interview, he started making inappropriate comments about female audience members and using racial slurs that had to be edited out. When Carson tried to steer the conversation to safer topics, Martin exploded. "Don't tell me what to talk about, pretty boy. I've been in this business longer than you've been alive," he said on live television. The audience fell completely silent, but the real scandal happened backstage. According to multiple witnesses, Martin sexually harassed 3 female staff members that night. He cornered them in the hallway and made disgusting propositions, revealed a former producer. Carson was furious, but NBC covered it all up to protect their image. The network received over 200 complaint calls that night. Martin's publicist worked overtime to spin the story, but Carson made a private decision. Martin would never be welcome on his show again. In his notes, Carson wrote, "Dean Martin showed his true face tonight. Disgusting." 3. Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis was America's funny man, the clown who made children laugh and adults smile. But former Tonight Show staff members describe him as the most narcissistic and cruel person who ever set foot on that stage. The problem started from his very first visit in 1963. Lewis arrived with a list of demands that filled 2 pages. Specific lighting, a particular type of chair, bottled water from a specific brand, and absolute silence during his preparation time. But that was just the beginning. During rehearsals, Lewis berated the technical staff for the smallest details. "You idiots don't understand comedy." He yelled at a sound technician who had been working at NBC for 15 years. "I'm Jerry Lewis, I know what I'm talking about." The most disturbing incident happened in 1975. A young production assistant, barely 19 years old, accidentally spilled coffee near Lewis's dressing room. According to witnesses, Lewis flew into a rage, screaming at the girl until she cried. "You're worthless! How did someone so stupid get hired here?" he shouted. Carson, who witnessed the scene, immediately intervened. "That's enough, Jerry. She's just a kid," he said, but Lewis turned his fury on the host. "Don't defend mediocrity, Johnny. That's why this show is going downhill." After that incident, Carson limited Lewis's appearances to the absolute minimum. In his private notes, he wrote, "Jerry Lewis is a monster who hides behind comedy. I've never seen anyone treat staff so cruelly." 4. Milton Berle. Uncle Milty was television royalty, the man who made families gather around their TV sets in the early days of the medium. But Carson discovered that behind the beloved persona was a man obsessed with control and absolutely unable to share the spotlight. The first major incident happened in 1966 during what should have been a celebration of Burleigh's career. Instead of graciously accepting the tribute, Burl spent the entire segment trying to upstage Carson, interrupting his monologue and stealing his punchlines. He couldn't stand not being the center of attention, recalled Doc Severinsen. Even when he was the guest, he acted like it was his show. But the real problem wasn't his ego, it was his treatment of other guests. During a show with multiple guests, Burl systematically sabotaged every other performer. He talked over a young comedian trying to tell his first joke on national television, ruining his career opportunity. When a female singer was performing, Burleigh made faces behind her, causing the audience to laugh at her instead of with her. The final straw came in 1974. During a commercial break, Burleigh approached Carson and said, "You know, Johnny, you're good, but you'll never be as good as me. You lack that special something." Carson, normally diplomatic, was speechless. That night, Carson wrote in his diary, "Milton Berle is a relic who can't accept that his time has passed. His cruelty to other performers is unforgivable." 5. Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford arrived at The Tonight Show in 1968 like a Hollywood goddess. Perfectly dressed, impeccable makeup, every detail calculated to perfection. But within minutes, the entire crew realized they were dealing with a woman completely disconnected from reality and cruel beyond imagination. Her list of demands was legendary. The dressing room had to be sterilized with specific products. All staff members had to wear white gloves when handling her belongings, and absolutely no one could look her directly in the eyes without her permission. During sound check, Crawford exploded at a technician who dared to adjust her microphone. "Don't touch me with those dirty hands," she screamed. The man, a veteran who had worked with everyone from Elvis to the Beatles, was so shaken he asked to be reassigned. But the most shocking incident happened just before going on air. A makeup artist, trying to fix a small detail, accidentally dropped some powder on Crawford's dress. The actress's reaction was terrifying. She slapped the young woman and screamed that she had ruined her life. Carson witnessed the scene and was horrified. "I had heard stories about Joan Crawford, but seeing it in person was something else." He later confided to Ed McMahon, "She treated people like they weren't human." The interview itself was tense and uncomfortable. Carson, normally charming with all his guests, maintained a cold distance. After the show, he wrote, "Joan Crawford is living proof that Hollywood can corrupt souls completely." 6. Zsa Zsa Gabor. Zsa Zsa Gabor sold herself as glamorous European royalty, a sophisticated woman who had conquered Hollywood with her beauty and charm. But the reality behind the cameras was completely different. A woman who despised common people and treated the staff like servants. From the moment she arrived, Gabor made it clear she considered herself superior to everyone present. She demanded that all male staff members address her as "Your Highness," and that women not speak to her directly, but through her assistant. During rehearsal, when a director tried to explain camera positioning, Gabor interrupted him. "I don't need instructions from the help. I know how to be beautiful on camera." The man who had worked with the biggest stars of the era was left speechless. But the worst came during a commercial break. Gabor noticed that a cleaning lady was working nearby and started complaining loudly, "Why do I have to be around these people? Can't they clean when I'm not here?" Her voice was so loud that the entire studio heard her. Carson, maintaining his composure but clearly uncomfortable, tried to change the subject, but Gabor continued. "In Europe, we know how to treat people of different classes. Here, everything is so mixed." After the show, Carson confided to his producer, "I've never felt so ashamed of having someone on my show. Zsa Zsa Gabor is a snob of the worst kind." He never invited her back.